Before we delve into consciousness, which is where I think things start, just to whet the appetite for an understanding of experience as misleading about the nature of reality or misleading about whether we perceive the truth, as you just put it, I think a great place to start is with your metaphor of a computer desktop or even the home screen on an iPhone. So how can we use this picture to get a handle on what it means to suggest that we don't perceive whatever's objectively out there?
Yeah, most of us feel intuitively that when we look around and we see the moon, and then we see a tree, and then we see a rock, and then we see a car, that we're seeing pretty much reality as it is. Not in every detail, but the moon is there, even if I don't look, and so is that rock. And the rock was probably there for thousands of years, and the moon for who knows how many billions of years. And so their existence doesn't depend on me, and I'm seeing them pretty much as they are. Of course, I'm not seeing all the microscopic details of the molecular states and so forth, but we understand that. At the top level, I'm seeing their surface pretty much accurately. And so that's the standard view. So it's almost, because that metaphor is more like a window. Our perceptions are a window on reality. Of course, it's not completely clear window, and I'm not seeing the microscopic structures and so forth, but I'm seeing, as far as I'm seeing, it's true in general. It's true. But there's another metaphor that I think is more apt given evolutionary considerations, and that is that we've been shaped by evolution to have sensory sense systems that guide adaptive behavior, period. That's what they do. On evolutionary grounds, your perceptions of color, motion, shape, sounds, and so forth are there for one purpose, that's to guide adaptive behavior. The assumption that they also show the truth is an extra assumption that goes beyond what evolutionary theory would suggest. What evolutionary theory suggests is a different metaphor, that our senses evolved like a desktop interface. So there's a reality out there that's unbelievably complicated. Our goal is to stay alive, interact with that reality, and stay alive long enough to reproduce. We don't need to know what that reality is. All we need to know is how to interact with it to survive long enough to reproduce. So just like with your computer, you don't need to know about the diodes and resistors and voltages and magnetic fields inside that computer to edit your photos or send a text. In fact, you don't want to know all that detail about the innards of the computer. What you want is something that gives you an adaptive guide to using the computer, right? So that's what the interface is for. Your desktop interface or your interface on your phone or whatever is there to hide the truth, all the complexity of the diodes and resistors and voltages and magnetic fields, to hide all that reality and just give you eye candy, the eye candy you need to get done what you need to get done. And that's my conclusion based on just mathematical modeling of perception and then evolutionary considerations. And then later on we can talk about, I think physics ultimately agrees, that our perceptions of space and time and objects in space and time, as complicated as it seems, as rich and powerful and real as it seems, is actually trivial compared to reality. Whatever reality is, space-time and the physical objects we see are trivial compared to the complexity of reality. And what we see is a user interface that dumbs things down and lets us do what we need to do to stay alive long enough to reproduce.
In this metaphor, the desktop icons don't even count, I think it's fair to say, as a distorted window of what's going on in the computer, in the sense that you mentioned that the standard view of perception is that our perceptions are a window on reality. And I say this because these icons, so I mean like the mail icon on my computer doesn't look at all like the transistors, the files, whatever's going on within the computer. Is the analogy to our perception of the world the same in this sense, that what we see is really this disconnected or this disparate from the underlying reality, or is the connection closer on your view?
On my view, it's at least as different as the desktop metaphor, at least as different. My view is that space-time itself, and therefore all of the objects inside space-time, is a trivial data structure compared to reality. So all of what appears to us is the complexity and detail of objects and their colors and molecular, structures and so forth, all of that is unbelievably trivial compared to the nature of objective reality. And so the desktop metaphor, I think, doesn't go far enough to reveal the triviality of our perceptions compared to the reality.